Okay, welcome. Hello, my name is Doug Fink. I'll be the host, and I will be the presenter today on GPT-4 Code Interpreter, real-time unscripted discovery today. Um, for those of you who don't know me, I'm a Microsoft MVP for the last 15 years. Time flies. And I don't know if you can hear that beeping in the back. I apologize for that. It's moving day for some people. Anyway, so I've been an MVP. My key focus is in PowerShell and automation. And I wrote a book called PowerShell for Developers. And within the last several months, I've been, well, last couple of years, and then mostly in the last 7 months, publishing things about ChatGPT, artificial intelligence, and things of that nature. So very much looking forward to doing this discovery today. I've done, I think, 2, 3, 4 before, and my plan is to try and do these once a week, and we'll see how it all goes. So just a little bit of housekeeping. If you want to follow me, I'm on X, formerly known as Twitter, at DFINKE. If you want to follow me there, that's where I do most of my notifications. You can also follow me on LinkedIn. I talk about, upcoming things that I'm doing. I talk about when I post videos, when I'm doing videos. I post videos about technology content. I'll do demonstrations of PowerShell and things of that nature. Updated link works. Thank you, Alexander. Excellent. And I do it a lot on X. I do it on LinkedIn as well. So make sure you follow me there. Also, you can head over to my YouTube channel. I'll be posting today's video there. And I have posted the other videos for the last few weeks around the ChatGPT code interpreter technology. I've made 2, 3 videos. I've posted those. I've posted my PowerShell AI videos. I wrote the PowerShell AI module. So I've done about 20 videos on that, so you can check that out there. If you subscribe and get notifications, you'll know when I post this video. I also have a meetups, and I do them about once a month. I have speakers that join me and do presentations on various technologies. October, I'm going to have Heiko Bren. So he's going to talk about leveling up your PowerShell game with ScriptRunner. And then in November, An's going to come on talking about leveraging PowerShell Import Excel, which is another module I wrote about 10 years ago and maintain. She's going to do time series forecasting and impact estimation. That's a pretty cool title, right? But she does some really cool data visualizations. She's first time I've met her digitally. People over in Europe, she was doing a bunch of presentations across the board, and people were telling me, "Hey, Doug, you got to check it out. She's doing some really cool things." So she's been generous enough to agree to come on. If you found your way here through the meetup, you can get back to that meetup page and you can RSVP. And as I post, I try to do this once a month. So every month as I post, you'll get notified who's coming on and whatnot. All right. So what else do we have? I think we're good to go. Let's see. Let me post if you want to join subscribe to the meetup or the YouTube. There you go. So today, what are we going to talk about? I've been doing some deep dives on my own. So I just figured I'd get on here and start playing around some technology. Feel free to jump in. If you have comments, questions, thoughts about what I'm doing, I'll turn it to you folks, and you can say, "Hey, what do you want me to try and do next?" Happy to give it a try. Never know if this stuff's going to go off the rails. I guess a couple of videos ago, I tried to do a text to speech using the code interpreter, and it failed. And I tried a bunch of different things that I thought might work, and was unsuccessful. But I thought it was good to do and to watch, because I was like, oh, so this is how you kind of learn how to get an intuition about what code interpreter is and so on. Now, I do want to point something out, that it's no longer called code interpreter. It's now called advanced data analysis. So this week, or within the last week and a half, OpenAI announced that they're now offering ChatGPT at the enterprise level. I don't know if they're going to be hosting it in Azure. I believe they are. But what that means is they're going to now give you ChatGPT, the latest models, the most accurate, the fastest, uncapped capable. You don't get capped at X number of calls per hour. And you get access to this new thing called the advanced data analysis tool, and that used to be formerly known as code interpreter. And they give you single sign-on, they give you a whole bunch of different things, so enterprises can actually wire up their internals to this tool. And the other good news is it's SOC 2 compliant, and you could read their webpage about the details. So it's locked down, ready to go. It's got enterprise level encryption. They don't use your data to train the models. It's basically your own private instance to do as you want to with it. So going forward, I'll be calling it advanced data analysis. So if you're not, I pay $20 a month and I get access to this tool. And what's cool about the $20 a month is I get guaranteed access. I get a faster, more accurate models, and I do get access to, or whoever pays the $20 a month gets access to all the new tools that they come out with. So when they did actually turn on the data analysis tool, I was playing with it a couple of months ago, maybe a little longer. And as they come out with these new features, ChatGPT Plus folks who are paying for it can get instant access or early access to it. So here, so I clicked over here, and down here on the bottom left, click those dots, and I went to settings and beta, and I can see what I've enabled. I can go into the beta features, and I have plugins enabled, and I have advanced data analysis enabled. So you have to opt into this if you pay for it. Once you do that, you can then choose between GPT-3.5, which is the fastest model that they have, and it's great for everyday tasks, most of them. And then if you want to start playing around with the new features, you can just either use the default, which doesn't do any data analysis, or you can just you can work with the plugins, or you can turn on the data analysis piece. And that's what we're going to be looking at here. Move some things around. So what I thought today would be cool is I want to do some things around web scraping, and I want to do stuff around multiple data file types inside of a zip file. So first, let's look at doing some web scraping. So I'm going to go off to Amazon, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to search for TVs. Right now, I don't know how many people have done web scraping out there. So web scraping, right? If you do a right mouse click here, and I say something like, I get the right place. And if I do an inspect, I can start seeing like what the HTML elements are on this page. And typically, you can do that, and you can look at the divs and the classes and the layout of the page. And then programmatically, whether you're using something like Beautiful Soup inside of Python, or if you're using other types of tools like HTML agility pack inside of PowerShell, and each language has their own way to deal with it. You can actually read this web page, grab all the HTML, and then you can then programmatically say, give me all the classes and give me some names and this, that, the other thing. So what I want to do is take a look and see how I can use ChatGPT in combination with the data analysis. So if I come over here, I can hit Control S, and I can then save this. I already did that. And I have something called Amazon.com_TVs. So I'm going to go back over to ChatGPT, make sure that I have my advanced data analysis set. Yes, I do. And so if I don't have that on, so notice there's no plus sign here in the bottom box in the text box. Okay. If I turn it on, I get this box. And what that lets me do is I can now upload a file. Okay. And let's grab this path. And I'm going to grab this file, which is just that one page where I searched on Amazon. I searched for TVs and I saved that HTML. So it actually uploads it. Now, I like to refer to ChatGPT as a very smart intern. And it's a very smart intern that can code, and it's basically read the internet. So if this is your first time working with data analysis, you don't have to sit there and go, oh, well, I have to learn a whole bunch of things and how to interact with it. No, you don't. And hopefully I can demonstrate how that is. So I uploaded the file, right? And I can go say something like, what's this? And that's a prompt. I'm doing prompt engineering. It's a minimal effort prompt, but it really begins to show you the capabilities of this new model and how it works with the data analysis piece works, right? So it tells me that what I uploaded, it appears to be HTML. That's correct, right? So and would you like me to extract specific file from this or provide some general overview? So I could say something like, yeah, general overview. Let's just start there. And let's see what the intern tells us. Now, I will tell you, I think yesterday I was playing around with I was experimenting with the data analysis piece. And in the middle of it, ChatGPT actually just went down and I could not access it at all. I think I posted on X, I said, looks like my intern decided to do some early drinking today. And in fact, when I looked at the status of OpenAI, it did have a catastrophic failure for a few hours yesterday. So anyway, today it looks like we're doing good. So, all right, I'll read the contents of the HTML file and then provide a general overview. Based on the contents, it's telling me the title, the descriptions, and then it's telling me about the first few elements, meta tags. Cool. File seems to be the beginning of an Amazon web page related to TV. So it's making an inference already about what's on that page, and that's correct. Would you like to go deeper? And yeah, I do. But what I want to do is like extract, and you can use whatever language you want in terms of, you don't have to say extract, you can say pull, you can experiment with different words. Don't have to do what I'm typing. So I'm going to say extract product names and prices. Okay, let's see what the intern does. All right. I'll look for patterns and with specific tag attributes. So already it's talking XML, or I should say HTML, and it's looking at telling me about the different tags it's going to look at. Looks good to me. Making some guesses, and it didn't work. So if I drop down this box, it said finish working. If I drop it down, and now it's kicking off some more stuff. We'll get to that in a minute. You can see that it actually started building and coding up a Python program to look at some stuff. And it got some issues. And it says, it seems I made an error. I forgot to define the lengths for the product names. And he's going to go correct it, or the intern's going to go correct that. And now it's saying, okay, I've successfully extracted the product names and their associated prices from HTML content. And here's the first 10 entries. Now, I'm not going to double check this. I'm not going to fact check it. I'm just going to play with it. I looked at it, a different set of stuff I was doing at a different point, and it was extremely on target. Now, we talk about ChatGPT and these LLMs and how they hallucinate. And the difference here is that it's actually writing a program and executing the program and checking itself for errors and data and so on. So there's it hallucinates much less frequently. But I would not take this information, post it in a report and send it on to people. I would double check it. So be forewarned. So there it is. So please let me know if there's further details. So what I want to do now is, that's really cool. There's a couple of product names. Show me in a table, because I don't like reading data. I don't feel like reading data like that. I want to see it more of a SQL table like, or an Excel type, but let's see what it can do here online. So here's the first, and it comes back with a interesting table, numbers the items, and it looks like the prices are a little wonky. So maybe the extraction didn't work as well. and we can take a look at the code. And, I've done a little bit of Python programming. It's using pandas, and it loaded the data into what they call a data frame, which is the common workhorse of pandas, naming columns and whatnot. And that's one of the ways that it can actually then take it. And here it's just saying printing, doing the head of the list and giving us 10 items. So that's what it does there. And you can see it's printed out this way in the code window. And then ChatGPT does it this way. It appears there's redundancy in the price column. So it already, right? I said, hey, it looks like it's doing something wacky. And it's already detecting that there's redundancy where each price is repeated. Now that's a good intern, right? Yes, please handle that. Now I'm being ambiguous on purpose. What do I want them to? What do I want the intern to handle? So because it understands context and has memory across this conversation, the hope is that it'll pick up the last piece. And there you go. So I uploaded an HTML file. I asked it to extract some stuff. It knew that it was HTML. It knew the libraries in Python to use to actually do the extraction. Maybe it did a pure parsing. We can look at the code at some other point. And once it was done, it had a couple of errors. It corrected itself. Asked it to take a look at it in the table. It did that, and it recognized that it had prices that were problematic. And it went ahead and fixed that. Okay. And we can take a look here, and it's doing an applying of a lambda. Not exactly sure what that. So it's taking the length divided by 2. Okay. We can come back to that later if that's important. So if you don't care about looking at the Python code, don't. Just keep plowing forward, doing what you're doing. So we went from a web page, saving the HTML, dropping it in to get this table. Here's another thing I can do. I'd like it in an XLSX. What's an XLSX? It's a Excel file. If people know me, Excel is my favorite, one of my favorites. So it knows from XLSX that it's an Excel file, right? And it gives me a link. So let's drop this down. So Pandas has a toExcel method on it. So it knows to use that to take the data that it created, and it saved it in the sandbox Docker image that it's running in, and it saved the file. And then it provided me a link to that file. So when I click it, I can actually get the download. I can click on that, and it opens it up in Excel. And let's make that a wee bit bigger. And that looks, oops. Okay. So I don't like the way the product names are coming out, and I can probably go back and get that fixed. But there's the products and there's the prices. So we went through a whole bunch of, let me just take this and column width back down to 15. So it's easy to work with. So it gave me a bunch of product names. I can have it go back and look at it, and I can say, hey, can you just pull out key information about it? But it also gives me all the prices. And now if I wanted to do further analysis on it, or do other things like pivot tables or adding things up, I could actually sit here inside of Excel and play around and do this kind of stuff. So once again, just to recap on this example, we went from saving a web page, which you can do on your own, to any web page that you like, that may have data, could be company data, who knows. If you have the ChatGPT enterprise version, you can feel confident that you can grab your internal documents, take it, save it, upload that HTML file, and then you can have the intern go off and do all kinds of stuff. If I wanted to, I could even start saying, let's do analysis on this data that you just extracted. We won't do that here. And we went through, we've picked it out. Again, it corrected itself on multiple things, trying to grab the names, trying to get the prices correct. And it gave me a list view right here of the products. And then I was able just to say, show me a table, and yes, please handle that. Did a bunch of stuff. It's cool. Now, if I was texting somebody to do this, how difficult would it be to communicate? If I was on Slack or if I was on Discord, same challenges. And here I'm talking to ChatGPT. It's understanding what I want. it can program, it's figuring out it has errors, solving the problem, and then at the end, it can give me a CSV file. I'd like it in an XLSX. I could ask for it in CSV, JSON, XML. I could probably, well, why don't we try? I want to, this may take too much time, but I want to insert this into a SQL table. Let's see what it does. If it takes too long, I will stop the generation. Certainly, I need to know a few details, database, table names. For the simulation, I can use SQLite, which is lightweight. And I'm just going to say, you figure it out. Maybe you can't, but maybe you can get some good defaults. Okay, so it's going to call it products DB. It's going to insert the data from the Excel file. That's cool. So it's going to read back the Excel file and then probably set up the T-SQL or the DDL to create the table. And there it is. So it creates the table. It gives it an integer, text, and text. So it figures those pieces out. And then it uses the data frame to go do its to-SQL. Away it goes. And if I wanted to, I could actually probably ask it to give me the SQLite database. I think it could do that, but I'm not going to do that now. Oh, wait a minute. You can also download the SQLite data. Download the SQLite. This thing cracks me up every time. So I'm thinking that, and it's already offering me to download the SQLite. I don't think I have SQLite on my file system, but I think I can actually pull that down, wire it into a SQLite, and I'd be off to the races. That's pretty crazy incredible, in my opinion. So we went from a web page to Excel to a SQLite database. I didn't have to touch. This thing is truly polyglot. Anyway, any questions or thoughts on this so far? Or is everybody passed out from the amazing stuff that ChatGPT and data analysis can do? Just try this with a message header. Okay. It's amazing. Yeah, it's mind blowing. Now, what the other thing that's really cool about it is not only is the capability of the intern, okay, but what did I tell it? Right. I uploaded a file. I said, "What's this?" It prompted me like, "What do I want?" And I said, "Just a general overview." What do we got here? And Roman says, "Enforce it to use PowerShell, not Python." And are you asking me to force it to use PowerShell, not Python? Is that what you mean, Roman? Oh, you did. Did it use PowerShell? So I'll get back to this point. No. So I'll get back to this point in a second. But yeah, so it can only program in Python at this point. If it does do PowerShell, it's actually translating from the Python into PowerShell. It's not trying to execute it and see if it has errors. You can say, hey, I can actually sit here and say, hey, take everything you just did, build me a Julia program, right? So Julia is another type of statistical analysis way of doing things. And then, or I could do it in R. It can try to do it in Python, in PowerShell, but there's definitely things that in PowerShell that you can and cannot do, and it would have to build extra pieces to make work in PowerShell. And I can tell you from experience it has, but I'm not going to show you. Almost speechless, wild stuff for so little prompting. You got it, Jason. So it prompted me, and I said, "Would you like a general overview?" Yeah, general overview. Extract the product name and prices. Good. Show me in a table. Now, this is kind of interesting because I say, show me in a table. That may not come to mind when you sit down with this tool. There's like little things like this. You wouldn't think to say, tell something like this, hey, show me in a table, show me in Markdown, show me in this and that. But hopefully this is planting some seeds, kind of stimulate the imagination, what you can do with this. So moving down, yes, please handle. So it tells me that it got a problem, right? I didn't have to look at the code and then get back to my intern on Slack and say, hey, looks like it's duplicated. It's got issues with the price. It recognized it and solved it. And then ultimately, is there anything else you'd like to do? I'd like it in an XLSX. Somehow it was able to interpret that, gave me a file, gave me a way to download it. I want to insert it into a SQL table. It prompts me for my details. Okay, hey, they give me a shot and say, what would you like to do? And I can go, well, you figure it out. Let's see if we like it. And it goes ahead and does it. And at the end, automatically says, "Oh, here's the here's the SQLite database if you want to download it." And I was just like talking out loud, going, "I wonder if I could do that," and it goes ahead and does it. So I don't think it has voice capability yet. I wonder if it is writing code by word, or maybe it is taking snippets and putting them together. I don't know the underlying details. I do believe it's using the text, the predictive text completion, and it's basing it on that it's scanned the internet, GitLab, GitHub, so on and so forth, and knows about about a massive amounts of billions and billions of lines of code across many different things. Notice it shows SQLite. That's a preferred database in the Python world. I could have said SQL, and it may have done a couple of things differently, maybe, maybe not. I could have told it to put it to a Parquet file, Parquet, another format that is known by data scientists. Anyway, yeah, how it does it, I don't know. It's crazy. I'm amazed at how it is figuring out intent and finding its own mistakes with such little and vague prompts. Absolutely, it's mind blowing. It's absolutely mind blowing. Is there documentation or deep explanation of how to handle prompt engineering, or are people just figuring it out as we go? Good question. So I've been playing with GitHub Copilot since like 2021. Learn to, and are people figuring it out? Yeah, there's or is it learning to? The people have been doing this stuff since like GPT-2, BERT, way back. They started figuring out stuff about prompting. Bummer. There is a web page that has been winning awards that teaches you about how to do the prompting. Yeah, there are books out on it. I've seen a bunch of them. Some are good, some don't go deep enough. Like these little tricks here, like you figure it out, or like put it in an XLSS, or show me in the table, things like that. So yeah, but definitely track down your resources. I'm not going to do it here. I'm sure I can ask ChatGPT how to figure it out, and if it has resources. And I'm pretty sure, even though its cutoff date was like 2021, I think. So it may or may not know some of these things. But on Amazon and O'Reilly and Manning, all these places are. This is the hot topic. Let's see, more part from from, is it Delete? And is there documentation, or are people just, yeah, people are just figuring it out? I was super fortunate, like when they came out with Chat GPT, and I started to work with this. I was amazed. There were people starting to put things on X, formerly known as Twitter, that people were talking about their experiences, and I came across a bunch of people, and there you go, learnprompting.org. That's definitely hit that up. And so there were a lot of data scientists that were playing around, and I was like, how do you know? Like their prompts were incredible. I mean, I'm doing a few words, and there you go, another one. RJ, thank you. Prompt engineering, absolutely. And yeah, go look on GitHub. There's a bunch of people, they put out like awesome prompts. I don't particularly like the awesome prompts things because they're kind of cheesy and repetitive cookie cutters. But you can learn a bunch of stuff from it. Anyway, yeah. So I was learning. I was coming across people on different forums and discords and whatnot that were talking about prompting, and it's to be honest, they were saying things like, "Give up the mathematics, give up the computer science. Prompting is all about rhetoric, right?" So I took out my Trivium books and I went back to Plato and Socrates, and it's absolutely incredible that how is, this thing's been trained on thousands of years of human language. So there's something to it. It's a different way of doing things. We have to reset our brains if we want to work with this tool. Don't be swayed by the clickbait stuff that goes on mainstream media, that this is Skynet and the Terminator is going to take us all out, or the other ones are like, oh, it's a utopia and we're never going to have to work again and this will take care of us. None of that's true. It may come to be true in the next year plus. And this is a tool, and it's got new knobs and dials that we have to figure out. Interesting. Why did I say it's about rhetoric? Well, if you go back and you look at rhetoric, it's all about language and proposing arguments and how you elicit stuff with words, whether you're rhythmically repeating words and all that kind of those types of things. And I am not an expert in that, but it was trained on all of human language, and this is what from the training, this behavior has emerged, and rhetoric is a great way to do it. There are people talking about something. Take this down. What they call super prompts. And it's the way you phrase your long paragraphs so that it's self-referential and all different types of things to really elicit from the model what you want to get done. Now, you don't have to do that straight out of the box. Like you can see here, that's what's the beauty of some of this new stuff. You can do very minimal prompts and you're off to the races. In addition, things like Llama 2, Anthropic's Claude, the next release, we're going to see Gemini from Google within a few months, I'm sure, and GPT-5 is coming. These things are becoming even better, and so it's going to be easier. Coursera offers a number of courses on prompt engineering. Yep, I've seen in some of those things. Your mileage may vary. I don't know if those are like real beginner stuff. Some of these people that are putting stuff on Coursera and Udemy, they generate it with ChatGPT. Be careful, drop some bucks. You never know. Hard to tell. I don't know where there's been reviews. Interesting. So English majors are back in vogue. And well, that's true. English. So Andre Karpathy, he was one of the founding members on the OpenAI team back when Elon Musk created OpenAI and invested $100 million of his own money. Andre Karpathy, in the last few months, he tweeted that English, the hot new programming language is English. But what's really interesting, he's Hungarian. You can actually do all these kind of things in different languages, right? You can ask questions in Hungarian and ask it to come back in English or come back in Hungarian or French or German, and it can handle that. So English is the language for the moment, but we'll see. And to your point, Dilip, people who are psychiatrists and in the arts of psychology and human mind and neuroscience fare much better with this kind of a tool than us folks who have been conditioned to be, well, A equals 1, A plus plus, now print A, right? This is not that kind of a way of thinking. Anyway, and there's good things and bad things. We're only in September. Today's September 1st. This was only released less than a year ago, the ChatGPT web. And this is how far we've already come from GPT-3 to 3.5 to 4. We're seeing amazing changes in GitHub Copilot X on the Microsoft side. Every product's getting Copilot. So yeah, crazy. Andre Karpathy, Slovenia. Are you fact checking me, Alexander? Awesome. You sure he's from there? So somebody I know, I'm not second guessing you, but somebody else I know, I think his Wikipedia page is wrong. Somebody else I know who's yeah, that's him. Tip top Slovak Canadian. Awesome. So he's Canadian. I'm sorry, my buddy is Hungarian, and he was like, "Hey, did you know Andre Karpathy?" So I'm going to have to go tell him he was fact checked. But yeah, but he's saying that English is the hottest new programming language. So yeah, it's resets the brain. So we got a little more time. Awesome comments. Hope so far this looks good. Let's see. Do you think the job of prompt engineers is a future good work? Good question. Depends by what you mean by future good work. I mean, when I do this kind of a presentation, and I also have like a other presentation where I demo how I've wrapped PowerShell, and you can get ChatGPT at your fingertips in the console and in your scripts. And I show a bunch of demonstrations like that, including in interactive notebooks. And talk about, now I forgot, I apologize. I forgot, lost my train of thought. Do you think the job of prompt engineering, when I say AI is not going to replace you, but somebody who knows AI will, all these LLMs from all these different tech companies, they're spending millions and millions. It takes a lot of money and a lot of power and a lot of resources to train these up. So at the end of the day, whether I'm using Bard or Gemini or GPT-5, it doesn't really matter, but being able to know how to do prompting is going to be super important to your job to get it done. Somebody knows how to do better prompting, um, right, is going to get answers faster, more accurately, so on. I'm showing you simple stuff here. There are definitely ways that I can take this even to a deeper level to get more accurate information, get more done in a single prompt. So this thing gets its job done, and I can take the results and don't have to check it and then just run with it. So yeah, learning prompting, next level. Is there some kind of documentation which data types is possible or not possible? Roman, can you say a little more about that? RJ says an AI that is taught. Oops, let me just move my window. An AI that is taught by AI will replace you. Great point. I just recently saw there is and I don't know the name of the service. I have to go back and check my notes. Excuse me. That there's a service now where you can actually give it a prompt, and they will take that prompt and they will generate a large language model with that prompt in a matter of minutes. So this is being experimented with, and this is exactly the direction this is going. I want to do this, and this based on this data, and it goes out, retrains itself, and then gives you back a large language model that you're ready to go. What do you mean by data types is possible? Well, basically, so this right here, this is Python, right? So it was called a code interpreter. Now it's called data analytics. It actually knows how to program Python to extreme depths. Like you can do data science, and if there was a data science person here, they would take me to task and tell me, no, he's not Hungarian, and no, it's not that good, but it's Python, right? So every data type under the sun, good to go. Now, before I move on to the next demo and then wrap this up, this is my speculation. I haven't seen many people talk about it. Maybe I'm not looking in the right places. So while this code interpreter, this advanced analysis tool works in Python, in my mind, I can't see it being that difficult for it to be an interpreter. Now it's based on Python, to be an interpreter based on C# or based on R or Julia or PowerShell. So I don't think that's going to be that far behind. Maybe all those languages they don't think is worth their investment. But we did see Code Llama from Meta, and I don't know what that program's in, but these programming techniques and these kind of interaction techniques around these interpreters, it's got to be able to do anything everywhere. So don't delay. Learn prompt engineering. So let's do one more. And what I want to do here is so I have another piece here called fake data.zip. And what is that? So let's assume that a client of mine just said, hey, Doug, we need some help with some of our data. Could you just take a look at it? And that's all they tell me, right? That's kind of how clients, managers, and business people do things, right? So I crack open the zip, and I see in here that I've got four different files. I've got a comma separated value file, a JSON, and an Excel worksheet, and an XML file. And now let's say they didn't tell me anything, right? So what would it take on my part, even if whatever language I was using, C#, Python, R, PowerShell, to properly open this information, figure out what's in it, figure out what's the headings, can I actually access it, right? That would take me quite a bit of time. Well, we've got a data analysis tool and a very smart intern. So let's upload this fake data zip. Okay. Now I'm going to say, now what? So hold on. So strap in, hold on, because here we go. So it tells me what it uploaded, and it asks me, would you like me to extract its contents and see what's inside? Yes, please. Always be polite with your GPT. It puts it in a good mood and works things out better. So let's see what we got. And how impressive is that? This is I feel like I'm doing up close magic, but we got a question. What are your thoughts regarding the future costs associated with AI? $20 a month right now for GPT is super cheap. Absolutely. You can't afford not to get Chat GPT Plus. we are on the cusp of, we've been doing amazing. This stuff is just amazing. Learning how to use it, getting steeped in it, getting an intuition about it. It's great. Where's it going? I think I heard somebody I was chatting with today. Um, I was chatting with a real person, not GPT. And then we were talking about the $50 I think they're going to be charging for Copilot in the cloud on Microsoft side. Yeah, this stuff can get, there's going to be customized LLMs offered commercially where you go, hey, you want to use this legal one? Great. It's going to cost you this much per month, because it takes them that much money to, they need to make money on the money they're investing to build these and maintain these LLMs and whatever user experiences they are. So we're going to have to see. Yeah, it can get very expensive, and hopefully the market constraints will help handle that. I'm happy to see all the competition in the LLM space. Keeps everybody honest, so to speak, but it also drives innovation, and we as consumers will get the benefit of this. But you got to learn how to work with it. So if you don't step up, it's not going to help. So anyway, so it told me it has a zip file, and I said, yep, take a look, and tells me what's inside. How do I want to proceed? Let's say, look at the content of it. So I'm just going to start typing away, and goes off and starts writing a program. Comes across the CSV file. Look at that, names the variable correct, uses the OS join, and then it does a read CSV, does a JSON load, and it does Excel, and it does XML, and then it got an error. So it says JSON decode error, and it comes back and says, hey, there's an issue trying to load the JSON file. And it gives me a bunch of information, and without being, it's not properly formatted. Let me handle the issue. Goes in, I apologize. It seems the error JSON file subsequent lines are not executed, so we have to do the previews of the other files. So let it continue. So it had a problem with the JSON file. And it's going to go ahead and do the CSV, Excel, and XML first. So it's telling me the workflow it's doing. Okay. Let me just take a look. I want to take a look at the code. So there it's grabbing all three of those files. So it did leave out the JSON. So notice it cracked open the CSV and showing me the first 5 rows. The same thing with Excel. And now it's showing me the first 5 records in the XML. Now let's address the JSON issue. So it hasn't forgotten. Now, if I would have slacked my intern, my human intern, he probably went off to lunch and he forgot, comes back and wouldn't remember, like I wouldn't. Oh yeah, I have to do that last file. Bummer. So we've spent like 2 minutes on this so far, and great. The intern successfully dealt with the JSON file by treating each line as a separate JSON. Awesome. So it figured out that there was a problem with the JSON, then figured out how to solve that problem. Kind of mind blowing. And I wonder how it did it. Oh, so it actually is reading line by line rather than reading in, like, doing a get content in PowerShell and then piping in to convert CSV or convert from JSON. So yeah, we would have had an issue with that in the PowerShell space. We would have to handle that. Okay, so now we've got all those, right? So what do we have? So we have a first name, a gender, state, age, and occupation. What visualizations can you do? So we took 4 different formats: CSV, JSON, Excel, and XML. Did I get them all? And the intern's able to crack those open, get them into memory. And now we ask GTP, what can you do? We can do things like show the distribution of a single continuous variable, such as age distribution across the data set, bar charts, all this kind of good stuff. So I'm going to say heat map. Let's see what a heat map it does. What's it going to do? Typically represent data, it tells me what it's about. So if you don't know what heat maps are, right now, this is $20 a month, and I'm experimenting with a whole bunch of different things. And I'm learning about these different pieces. And it's just communicating with me in almost like a teacher at this point. Would you like to proceed with this example, or do you have another one? If you have a specific data set, I'm going to say do all. right? So I wanted to look at all four of those and do that. Question, Jim, learning how to avoid alignment policies is a great skill. Learn to be sneaky. Don't we do that always? Absolutely. Well, it's up to what you're trying to do, right? Which is one of the challenges with this thing. So now I asked it basically to go across all those four files, right? Remember, we had four different formats, and I'm asking it to do a heat map, and it's going to try and maybe do it. Okay, it's going to do it by occupation, by state. And I'm going to go to the beach and tell my client, oh, yeah, I'll get this to you on Monday. So it did a heat map. So did it actually four of them. That's not exactly what I wanted in my head. So we got it grabbed the CSV, the JSON, the Excel. What happened to the X? Did I miss the XML? Oh, isn't loaded as a data frame. We'll also skip it. So it had an issue with the XML. I don't know why it didn't tell me about it. But it handled all of these and it gave me a heat map about the data that's in it. So that's pretty cool. So let me say concatenate. I'm just going to concatenate. Right. So what I'd like, right, I'd love to see all this data in one big data set. And off to the races it goes, and it's done. And it concatenates the data sets. And we have 150 rows with 6 columns. So we lost the XML file. I don't know why, but I could interrogate or I can ask what happened and can I go back and give it another try. So now I have all the combined data, right? And I can ask for another heat map. But what I want is okay, great. Please save it and we'll go with an XLSX again. Simple as that, right? So it did the concatenation, did the data to XML, XLS, download the file. Let me open it. And sure enough, I have 150 records. Okay. So client sent me an email, said, hey, here's some files. Can you take a look? I've taken a look. I've already done a heat map. I kind of generally have what's going on in them. And then I have 150 records. And I can either go back and write my own custom piece that handles XML, or I can ask the intern to do it for ChatGPT. I'm impressed. Don't know about you. So now, some folks might look at this and say, well, that's a really simple example. Okay, maybe. I don't know. Do a pie chart of occupation. I mean, you could say it's simple. I've worked with very large data sets with this, done some interesting time series forecasting. It's ridiculously impressive. There's no, in my mind, there's no product on the market for $20 that I can do this with. They're also talking about not only ChatGPT Enterprise, they're also talking about they may have a ChatGPT business so that companies that are startups or smaller, much smaller in size can have access to the same pieces. I'm not sure what the issues are going to be. Like, are they going to put governors on and scale things back? Don't know. There's no way in my mind that this cannot be given to folks to get their job done. Just by doing some of these pieces, right? Just from a data science perspective, 80% of a data scientist's job is to look at data, scrub it, clean it, understand it before they even start coming up with their analysis of how to drive ML models with it. I have actually uploaded data to the data analysis piece, and I've actually given it data sets that are similar. But for example, let's say you have a spreadsheet or a CSV file or whatever format you have, and you have dates in it. One of them might have a date of, 2023/9/1. Another one of the files may have a date of, 9/1/2023. Typical challenges we have as developers. And then the other one might actually come as an Excel file from the sales department, and they put, September in one cell and then 01 in another cell in 2023. So you have 3 cells that handles month, day, year. And you can just throw that at this tool, this intern at the data analysis, it will detect that and it will try to normalize the data for you. Gavin has a question. Can this be integrated with PowerShell? Will you update the module to include this? Great question. So that, I just love integrating stuff into PowerShell. So this initially started out, right? So we're going to stop this for now. We're going to go back to the new chat. This initially started out as a plugin beta, right? And you could, I can choose from the plugin store. Thank you very much. And this started out as a, code interpreter as a plugin. So, and then they moved it into its own separate thing, and then now it's available as, as this tool called data analysis. I don't know if it's programmatically. I have not seen it be programmatically accessible. I guarantee you, as soon as it does, I will work to figure it out and plug it into PowerShell. Absolutely. The thing I didn't show. So what's also cool about this is it names the file examination assist. Right? I could ask it to give me the full Python program. So I can ask it this question or give it that prompt. And now what it's going to do, right from what we started with the zip and the this and the that, it will give me an entire program right up until the final question that I asked. And it will crack everything open, handles the JSON issue, no problem. I don't think it's going to do the XML because it didn't figure it out. Right down to the plotting of the figures. I can then take this, copy code, and I can drop it into a Jupyter notebook. And I've done this, and it all works. I can have the data, I can have the zip file logo of my Jupyter notebook, drop this code in, it'll run, it'll give me the chart. Now I can take this, I can even ask it to write unit tests for this. Then I can take both and I can drop it into my production runs and say, I've got unit tests, it proves it works, let's make it happen, and then productionize it, so to speak. Now let's try this. Convert that to PowerShell. Now I don't have much faith in this because PowerShell doesn't have matplotlib and Seaborn and doesn't have that kind of capability because we don't have that in our ecosystem, unfortunately. Converting to Python, look right up front, it says PowerShell involves more than a direct translation as the two languages have different syntax, libraries, more importantly, and paradigms. However, I can provide a rough conversion. So off it goes. It's using the expand archive to grab the zip files. There you go. Does it import CSV? And then it's gonna, I don't see where it's doing the JSON though. So that looks unfortunate. So I think it's probably a little off, and I can help that. And I love this line right here. The concatenated data set, it uses my library to export to Excel. I couldn't have a better Friday. Let's see, for Excel, the JSON handling in the original Python. Oh, look at that. I love this. It's like second guess. It's like it's reading my mind, in my opinion. The JSON handling in the original Python script processed line by line. PowerShell's convert from JSON assumes the standard JSON format, so additional handling would be needed for the line by line. So it tells you that up front. Now, if I continue to prompt it, I could get it. I'm confident I can get it to do that and include it in there as well. The other thing I could do is I can actually copy paste this into Visual Studio Code. I have Copilot X, and then I could ask it I could then take the Python here and then say, not all of it, but just the JSON piece, say, convert this JSON, convert this Python into PowerShell. And that's pretty straightforward because I didn't see any special libraries that was being used there. So that's pretty damn impressive. Now, when this becomes as a programmable tool, I beyond want this in my toolbox. Right? So it's 2:59, gonna wrap up here. Just to note, I think I started showing this demo at 2:47, right? So in less than 12 minutes, I went from 4 files in a zip, different formats, to graphs, to a full Python program I can run locally, to converting it to PowerShell. If I was not explaining it to anybody, I probably would have gotten this done in 5 minutes. So this is all about understanding the tool. Don't look at where the puck is. Don't look at where the ball is in play. Look at where it's going. It's mind-boggling. The more you can get involved with it, great. Yes, there are going to be things that change it. There are going to be, you're going to try stuff and go, and then they're going to go, oh, we have a new piece. Uh, I don't think it's going to eradicate what you know. Um, it's going to be like, oh, I knew how to do that with prompting this. Oh, I don't have to sit there and give it a persona. I don't have to sit there and craft my rhetoric this way. I can shorten my rhetoric and I can leverage it from different angles. So look at where this thing is going. In a matter of minutes, we had this. I'm sure this is going to be available as a programmatic interface. And if not, Meta's going to do it or Google's going to do it. And they're going to have to, each one of them are going to have to catch up. So let's close with that. Any final questions, thoughts, anything you'd like to see that I could look at for next time that you might want to see? And feel free again to hit me up on, on Twitter or on not Facebook, but LinkedIn. You can drop some information there and happy to look at it. This stuff is just too cool. Jim says, when you code to do back and forth between GPT plus and GitHub Copilot, what plugins am I using? Folks are going back to work. I hear you. So Jim, let's see, what plugins do I use? I'm not quite sure which. ChatGPT Plus, I haven't really used any plugins since the code interpreter became available. The other ones are quite interesting. Third-party companies have done some really interesting stuff, but I decided to spend my energy on the code interpreter. For the GitHub Copilot, I don't know if you mean by plugin. Yeah, you get Visual Studio Code, you download the extension for GitHub Copilot. I don't know if there's still a waiting list for X. You get that, plug it in, and you're off to the races. So I don't know if that answers your question. Great stuff. Thank you, Roman. Awesome. Thank you for hosting these. Absolutely. Again, if you come across stuff or you want something to be looked at, happy to do it. Let me know. Enjoy your Friday. Enjoy the weekend. Catch you next time.